Carlos, obviously, huge news this week. Huge news for Formula One, but even bigger news for you. How did it all come about?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you to the whole Formula One world, every single member of Formula One, fans, McLaren team members, and everyone for the great reaction no, that everyone had. And yeah, felt very proud at the moment. 1 week later, everything has sunk in a bit better. And now, yeah, it's time to get back to work. To be honest, I cannot wait to go back racing.
We heard that obviously very early on in the negotiating process, you had to talk to Zach, and he was very understanding about allowing you to talk to Ferrari. How important was that in allowing this whole process to even start?
Well, very important, Will. You need to understand that in the end, as drivers, we are under very strict contract situations. And the moment I felt like there was an interest from Ferrari in hiring me for 2021, I went straight to Zach to comment to it, and he had a positive feedback in terms of, okay, if this opportunity is coming to you, we'll let you talk to Ferrari and let's stay in touch to see how everything develops. We had a very open relationship. We've had always, but since that point, we decided to take it in a very open way, keeping us posted mutually in terms of everything that goes on behind the scenes.
Take me back to 2018. And when the opportunity presented itself with McLaren, because at the time, I don't think it's unfair to say it wasn't necessarily the ultimate or optimum move. It was a risk.
Definitely no, especially replacing a guy like Fernando Alonso in a team like McLaren was also something quite a big task, you know. That plus the situation of McLaren was a bit tricky at the time, but I don't know why, and I have no idea why. Will, I always had a very good feeling about this project. I knew Zach since 2017 or 2016. I don't remember. One summer we played golf, and since the moment I met him, I felt like one day I could end up in McLaren. I just had that feeling like we were getting on very well, and I would like one day to drive for him and for McLaren.
You've told me before that from the first second you went to McLaren and you looked around the factory and you met the team, you had that feeling inside yourself that something really big was possible. But to the outside world, to a lot of us in the paddock and in the media looking at that situation, and that a multiple champion like Fernando hadn't been able to turn the ship around, and he's your hero as well and hadn't been able to do it. Where was your head going into that first year in 2019 with McLaren? Was there any fear of, my God, if I don't get this right, if I haven't made the right call, then it could be the worst move I ever make?
Yeah, there were for sure certain fears, like all athlete or sportsmen have at some point. But this was a bit different. As I said, I had a bit of that, call it intuition, positive vibe, whatever that came to my mind that said, this team at the moment is the right place for me to go to and try to create something from zero. It was my first 2-year contract, something that gave me definitely a bit of tranquility and confidence under the management, under the wing of Zach Brown. That was a guy that I respected a lot, and I got on very well. I felt a lot of support, and they gave me the power to go into the team and to start from zero, move into McLaren, move into Woking, spend there a lot of time, and start creating a bit of a new environment that we have never seen in Formula One, with 2 drivers like Lando and me living next to the team, pushing everyone at the factory every single week of the winter, doing a lot of team building activities, etc., etc. And that created a bit of a momentum, since winter of 2019, that I immediately felt it was going to be positive. And I'm sure that hard work and that dedication created that feeling of, yes, let's go and get them. And I'm sure that is the reason why 2019 was such a successful year.
You've mentioned team building, the importance of leading that team as well, with Lando obviously being a rookie. How much of that team leadership did you have to take on yourself? How much did you embrace and enjoy that role?
Yeah, probably the right word is enjoy. Finally, I could settle into a team where I knew I was going to be on to for more than a year, which previously I was only competing for teams knowing that I was going to be there for a year. And finally, I had the possibility of creating a bit of a team that I trusted and a bit of team building, immediately to try and perform.
And everybody has picked up on the relationship between you and Lando. It was one of those incredible sort of relationships where you seem to draw more out of each other, but the competition never got poisonous.
Never at any point, or at least not yet. Let's keep praying for it. But definitely Lando and I, since the moment we met, we both knew that that the team needed some good environment between each other and both to push in the same direction. There was nothing to take from benefit from fighting each other or trying to prove to the management who of the two drivers was better. That, like every driver in the world does, tries to prove it on track. But outside of the track, we were both pushing in the same direction, listening to each other, supporting each other in the simulator, and sharing some ideas and thoughts about the future. Obviously, me with a guy with a bit more experience, I think Lando could also help himself a bit from my feedback and all that. And I think between each other, we helped the team grow. And we went into 2019 season with that positive feeling and let's try and push together. And suddenly the relationship got even better and better. And it had its snowball effect that we ended up being actually very good mates and enjoying our time on track more than ever.
You talk about laying the foundations. And of course, Mercedes coming back to McLaren, the foundations building for the future with you and Lando, with the team behind you as well on the wall at the factory, everything building to this incredibly strong McLaren. How excited were you about the future there? Because it seemed to all of us like it was this dream team being formed.
And it was, and it is still for me. McLaren is forming an incredible team with now Andreas Seidel and James Key there at the point of the arrow, however you call it in English. They are incredibly good people that are going to lead this team forward, that I'm sure. We're going through some very tough times, but I think they have the right people to go through these tough times that the world is going through at the moment, and I'm sure they will get over it, and we will all get over it soon. And at the same time, the project Mercedes, I'm sure, is going to help McLaren move forward. I was already thinking about 2021, 22 with McLaren before a phone call came from Ferrari. And, even next year, if I'm part of Ferrari, trust me that nothing would make me more happy than seeing McLaren back at the top of a Formula One podium, because I feel like McLaren, has always been part of that story of that battles at the front. And as a Formula One fan, as a McLaren fan, now I would love to see McLaren back at the top.
When did that first call come in from Ferrari? Because we, in the press, we look at everything happening all the time, and there were rumblings, there were suggestions that, perhaps the team might be looking for a driver change at some point in the near future.
I'm not going to give you an exact date, but I'm going to tell you winter between 2019 and 2020. And believe me, the moment I heard that, I went and asked permission to Zach to go and talk to them in a more serious way. And without knowing what Zach's reaction was going to be, he immediately came to me and said, look, it's an opportunity, go and talk to them and see what they're about.
Of course, to have the final moments and the final sort of discussions, I imagine, happening in this incredibly strange world that we live in now. I imagine having to do discussions via Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Who even knew what a Zoom meeting was 2 months ago? Was that very strange?
It's fairly strange. I must say my team, let's say my dad, cousin, manager, took care of the most important bits, but I was on the phone with Mattia now and then, on the phone with Zach constantly, on the phone with Andreas. A few Zoom meetings, of course, like everyone, but for me the key of this process has been the clarity and the openness of all parties involved to make it happen, and just don't have any awkward around the back situations. I don't know how to say it. And that makes me incredibly proud, and the way it has all been managed makes me feel very happy, and I'm very thankful to Zach and his team.
How was Zach and Andreas when it became clear that, yes, this deal was going to get done and you were going to be leaving in 21. I imagine they were disappointed but understanding.
Yeah, disappointing and understanding, but at the same time looking for themselves and for their team. You know, they needed to have clarity from me in case they needed a replacement. And immediately they told us, Carlos, please let us know if this is a serious thing, because we obviously cannot be left behind, you know, and we want to, if we are going to go into a market, we need to know as soon as possible. And at that point, the clarity and everything, we were all a bit rushed, you know, into trying to make the decisions as quick as possible in the benefit of everyone involved. And the reaction, very simple, Will. They were happy for me. They congratulated me. They were happy, and they said, look, Carlos, you deserve it, and I'm sure you will do great there. And that confidence boost is always nice to hear from your bosses.
How do you celebrate in the midst of a pandemic where you can't go and see friends and can't go to a restaurant and have a dinner or anything?
Yeah, well, with my two sisters and my two parents, just we opened a bottle of champagne on that day, and we just cheers, and that's it. Yeah, we had a good dinner and enjoyed it. It was in the end, I celebrated with the people that have been there with me for all this time, which is my family and my very near family, and it was quite obviously an emotional moment and a very special day.
Right. So what kind of a driver are Ferrari getting in 2021? Obviously, we don't know what 2020 will bring, but the driver that Ferrari have signed, with all of your experience so far, who are they getting?
It's a very difficult question to answer. I hate talking about myself, and maybe you are the best guy here to evaluate myself and to indicate what you think Ferrari have signed. But what I can tell you is that they are gonna find an extremely hardworking guy that will have to go to Italy, will have to spend a lot of time in Maranello, the same way I spend a lot of time in McLaren, and I will try and build something special in Ferrari, the same way I've built something special in McLaren. And that is part of my DNA, trying to build relationships, trying to build a good atmosphere around myself, and spending a lot of time near the factory, because I also enjoy it. I personally love having meetings, talking about Formula One, especially now. I miss it quite a lot, I'm not going to lie. I love finding out things about setups, about the aerodynamic directions, etc. It interests me a lot, and it's something that they're going to find. And apart from that, hopefully a very quick driver and an incredibly motivated guy that is going to give it all for the Scuderia.
You've already talked about that importance of team building and getting on with people. How do you think you'll work with Charles? Is he somebody that you know well? Do you spend much time together already at the paddock?
Yeah, I actually spend quite a lot of time with Charles in Driver's Parade. He's one of those guys that I have probably a bit more relationship with, you know, and the guy that you go and find for a quick conversation in the Driver's Parade before the race. Also, as he didn't used to be one of my main competitors where I was going to try and overtake at the start, because normally he was a few places ahead. You know, you instead of spending time with Daniel or Lando in the Driver's Parade 1 hour prior to the start, where you were wanting to overtake everyone and feeling that hunger of trying to overtake everyone, I say I'm going to spend time with one guy that I'm probably not gonna see in 1 hour and a half. And I was going to Charles and discussing a bit about the race, about the strategies and the car, how did it feel, and the qualifying of the day before. So I do have a good relationship with Charles, and I've been in touch already with him, and it's been good so far.
I guess one question is, you know, if we do get some racing this year, it's going to be quite strange in that the car won't develop really at all between 20 and 21. So you and Charles will have next year pretty much the car that he and Sebastian will have this year. Also, you know, your successor at McLaren will have the car that you've got this year. It's an odd time in the history of the sport to be making a move. Does that fill you with sort of intrigue and interest? Is it a worry in any way?
A bit of both. It's going to be a very strange time, and there's a lot of unknowns. First of all, if the cars is going to be the same next year, are there going to be any testing at all? Is there going to be any time for me to adapt to a new car? Is there, of course, all these thoughts that you just gave me, this has been in my head, obviously, and things that I'm considering, and I will need to think about in the future, how many hours of the simulator I will need to do, etc., etc. But I can tell you that now my main focus is in 2020, in the way that I want to perform this year with McLaren, because there's nothing that I would love more than saying goodbye to McLaren on a high and keep that momentum going until the end of 2020. And then it will be time to worry about those testing things that I've just gave you, testing facts. Is there going to be any testing? Is it going to be exactly the same car and I have never driven it before Australia? Whatever. But until then, McLaren time, put Ferrari a bit in the pocket and don't think about it anymore, and keep the momentum going with McLaren.
There aren't many drivers that can say they've driven for both McLaren and Ferrari. You join a very small list of racing drivers to have been considered good enough to drive for two of the most successful and most famous and most loved teams in the world. That must be quite something to get your head around.
Definitely, and I'm starting to run out a bit of words of excitement, how to demonstrate to you that I'm excited and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, also let's not forget to a team like McLaren, where an idol like Ayrton Senna has driven for, to score that podium in Brazil after 6 years, no, without a podium for the team, and be the first driver to score that podium in the conditions that we scored it, starting last from the back of the grid. All these are moments that for sure I'm not going to forget in my life, and that I'm going through a very sweet moment. And I just want to enjoy the moment, enjoy the present, and then go little by little, setting some short-term targets to try and be the best version of myself.
Two final questions then. As you say, some wonderful memories already with McLaren. What do you hope to achieve in 2020 when we finally get back to racing with this team that you have so much love for, that you've come so far with in such a short time, and that you've helped already back on its way towards the front of the grid?
Well, to keep the momentum up, I really want this team to follow the trend that we had last year. How much are we going to improve this year compared to last year? I'm not sure, because no one is sure at the moment of anything related to performance and to the situation of any team, because we haven't gone racing and we don't know where we are. But I'm definitely keen to follow the trend and keen to say goodbye to McLaren in the best possible way. So believe me, I'm going to give my best this year the same way I was giving my best last year. I'm going to try and improve little things from last year, and I want to make sure that I am a better driver than I was in 2019, and keep performing at the best of my ability.
So the final question is the one that I'm sure most people will be asking right now, and that is, do you get to keep your company car from McLaren, and which company car are you going to get from Ferrari?
Unless there's a surprise, I don't think I will keep my 600 LT. And unless there's a surprise, maybe Zach sees this video and feels like maybe I should keep something from him, but I don't think so. And my next company car, I don't know, maybe you can go and ask Mattia in the paddock next time you see him, and ask him and make me that favor for me, because I don't want to ask myself.
Perfect. Carlos, thanks so much for talking to us. It's such incredible news. It's so exciting, as you said, obviously for Formula One and for the future, but especially for you. We all know how incredibly hard you've worked these recent years since you've come to Formula One. Thoroughly deserved, and we can't wait to see how you get on.
Thank you, Will, and thanks for those kind words, and thanks for the support of the Formula One fans, that I'm sure they have played a part in all this, supporting me through these 5-6 years in F1. So thank you, everyone, and let's keep in touch, and let's go back racing soon, because I cannot wait. I'm getting really bored. I want to get out of home. I want to go back to McLaren. I want to drive a simulator. I want to talk about tires, about the races and data and everything, and enjoy Formula One again. I had to say,